flame of fire.
That's right.
And on his head were many crowns. And he had a name written that no man knew but he himself.
So what you arguing and fussing for? He's going to give us the name right now. Don't nobody. When you hear Negroes say, we already know the name, it's Yahweh Shai, that's crap. So either the Bible's a lie or the Negro from Harlem is a liar. You make your decision. Go ahead.
And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood.
So either the Bible's a lie or the
knew but he himself.
What you arguing and fussing for? He's gonna give us the name right now. Don't nobody. When you hear Negroes say, we already know the name, it's Yahweh Shai, that's crap. So either the Bible's a lie or the Negro from Harlem is a liar.
All right, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Yahweh is the true, holy, and powerful name of the Heavenly Father. Bahashem meaning in the name. Yahweh Shai is the true, holy, and powerful name of his only begotten Son, who is the Savior of the nation of Israel, starting off with the elect within the nation of Israel. And Israel consists of you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans, as well as you Israelite foreigners scattered abroad that may look like the nations where you've been scattered to, but are Israelites. And I also want to give double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect, pushing out this word in all sincerity and the truth. All right, this is the brother you call from the GMS branch out of Des Moines, Iowa, coming back at you with another lesson inspired by the Holy Spirit, Harakakwadash. All right, and what you heard at the beginning of the lesson was a clip, all right, from Bishop Nate, all right, from, I guess, a class that he had where he was breaking down Revelation 19 and 12 incorrectly. You know, using that precept to say that we wouldn't have Yahweh Shai's name in these last days, or the true name of the Messiah, which is Yahweh Shai in these last days. And throughout the years, you've seen, IUIC cast doubt on those names. All right, brush it off, mock it, and various different things. And the Lord is going to deal with them, because of these things. All right, as it is written, the Most High is not mocked, for whatsoever man soweth, that shall he reap. All right, but, as servants of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, we got to continue to fortify the minds, all right, of the elect to have trust and faith and calling upon those names for deliverance in these last days, because it will be needed. All right, you aren't going to be delivered calling on Christ, calling on Yeshua and all these different things. It's going to be called on the true name of the Father and the true name of his Son. And as it also says in the book of Timothy, all right, it says, he that nameth the name must depart. This is the book of 2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 19. It says, nevertheless, the foundation of the Most High standeth sure, having this seal, the Lord knoweth them that are his, and let everyone that nameth the name of Yahweh Shai Mashiach depart from iniquity. Right, so having those names is essential for salvation. All right, but if you have those names but you're not departing from iniquity, all right, you're being a demon, a nigga, okay, that's not going to deliver you. All right, but those names are necessary for salvation, and it's a matter of faith. All right, we're going to touch on that revelation that he tried to use. All right, but it's a thing of faith. All right, because as Apostle Tar always mentions, it's not like an angel came down and said this is exactly how you pronounce it. All right, we can prove and show you that those little hat people over in that land, that they don't have the correct pronunciation. All right, they added different vowel points to the Hebrew and so on and so forth to change the soundings of the words and everything like that. And this isn't a minuscule thing. All right, the Lord is really going to exalt those names throughout the earth. So it's not a light thing to just be like, oh, well, you pronounce it this way and we pronounce it that way, and it's just all good. You're going to make it. It's like, nah, it don't work like that. All right, as we're reading here, Acts chapter 4 and verse 12, it says, neither is there salvation in any other, for there is none other name under heaven given among men whereby we must be saved. So there's one name, all right, that's been given whereby we must be saved. Okay, very plain, very straight to the point, right? So this is essential for salvation, is calling upon those true names. And that's what we're going to show forth as well through prophecy. All right, because prophecy lets us know that the true name of the Father, the true name of his Son, all right, will be proclaimed in these last days before Yahweh Shai returns. It will be taught in these last days before Yahweh Shah returns, man. So without further ado, I want to jump into it. All right. And we'll build up until getting into that Revelation, the 19th chapter. All right. But we have to emphasize the importance of these names. Okay. Calling upon these names in truth and sincerity, because the Lord is going to glorify himself as his believers are calling upon those true names and getting divine intervention, receiving deliverance, all right, help, and so on and so forth, right? But this is the book of Proverbs chapter 30 and verse 4. Who hath ascended up into heaven or descended? Who hath gathered the wind in his fists? Who hath bound the waters in a garment? Who hath established all the ends of the earth? What is his name? And what is his son's name, if thou canst tell, right? So this is letting you know, because this is written, all right, in the book of Proverbs, all right, King Solomon, he was in rulership, right? They had the name of the Father, okay? So why would he say, what is his name, being the Father's name, all right? Who's ascended up into heaven and descended and so on and so forth, right? And what is his son's name, if thou canst tell, right? So the names have been a mystery for a short time period, man. All right, because obviously when Yahweh Shah was on the scene, he had a name, all right, that was given unto him, all right, from the angel Gabriel, all right. He let Joseph know, all right, what to call him, all right, Mary, what to call him, right? So those names, he had a name while he was on earth, and that name has been preserved, all right, in these last days to call upon for deliverance, man. All right, so we still have those, but as it is written here, reading it again, Proverbs 30 and 4, who hath ascended up into heaven or descended? Who hath gathered the wind in his fists? Who hath bound the waters in a garment? Who hath established all the ends of the earth? What is his name? And what is his son's name, if thou canst tell? Right, so certain people have the faith to believe, all right, in the true names of the Father, or the true name of the Father and the true name of his only begotten Son, the true name being Yahweh, the true name of his Son being Yahweh Shai. Some people have the faith to believe in that and can see it, and others don't. All right, that's just how the Lord set it up. All right, this is the book of Amos, chapter 3 and verse 7. Surely the Lord Yahweh power will do nothing, but he revealeth his secret unto his servants the prophets. So in these last days, the prophets will be proclaiming, all right, the name of the Father, the name of his Son, all right, that has been not as famous, all right, in these last days, man. Okay. Once again, the Lord is going to bring fame to those names in these last days, man. Okay, but the true prophets would be teaching and preaching in those names, right? This is the book of St. John, chapter 17 and verse 6. It says, I manifested thy name unto the men which thou gavest me out of the world. Thine they were, and thou gavest them me, and they have kept thy word. So Yahweh Shai, he said that, look, the name, or I made my your name manifest unto the men which thou gavest me out of the world. All right, meaning the what? His the disciples, the chosen. Okay. All right. He gave them the name of the Father, made that clear to them. And what do you think they did? All right. Continue to profess the name of the Father and the name of his Son. All right, his name, Yahweh Shai, man. It says, I manifested thy name unto the men which thou gavest me out of the world, because Yahweh Shai said it himself, whatsoever ye ask in my name, that shall I do. All right, he said that what? We need to pray in his name. So the disciples, they were teaching, that was a part of the doctrine, is to what? To call upon the true name of the Father and the true name of his Son back then, and we still have that same doctrine now. All right, because I had a clip, this is a small compilation of, the mocking, all right, that's been done over the years by, Nate and the various leaders of IUIC, Nathaniel, all right, Bishop Nate, of IUIC and various other leaders of his congregation, all right, mocking the name, all right, but at one point, they said that the name isn't supposed to be a doctrine, all right, they done flip-flop on the name so many times. They say that we don't have it. Then they say that, oh, well, Yahweh Shai is his name, but you don't need to call upon it for salvation. You know what I'm saying? And all these various different things, man. All right. They try to downplay it. Oh, well, it's not like they got to know. They're trying to say that you got to know all Hebrew to know. It's like, no, we're not saying that you got to know the full Hebrew, but you do need to call upon those names in the pure Hebrew. All right. That's at Acts 4 and 12, man. And it's a reason why we've been given the pure language in these last days to call upon for salvation. It's very plain. All right, it's very simple, but you could check out this entire clip. You know, just go to the page. You see it here. All right, you could pause it. You know, go to the brother's lesson. But I want to jump to this portion here, just because I spoke on that point. All right, how that we're saying don't make the name a doctrine. All right, and that's a part of the doctrine is the true name of the Father, the true name of the Son. All right.
To the most high, you understand? To use the word Yahweh, sometimes when I pray and I use that word, you understand?
And this is the confusion behind it because, see, now I pretty much got to play the clip. Okay. There's so much confusion behind this. But at one point, you know, Nathaniel says this, right?
That's why I scorn when I hear somebody say Yahweh. Soon as I hear it, I know the spirit of evil is there. I've not seen one righteous man that use that term, not one. Every one of them evil, malice, guile, gossip. Every last one of them. Okay? Give me Acts 13. Let me take it down.
Right, so he tells this congregation that I've not seen one person that uses the name Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, all right, that has not had guile, malice, and been wicked, not one righteous person. But then he turns around, all right, or his cohorts, right, come back and say this. Let me go back to it a little bit further. Salakia.
But Yahweh, sometimes when I pray and I use that word, you understand? We ain't tell you all not to say Yahweh or Yahweh Shai.
So then he says, we ain't telling you not to say Yahweh and Yahweh Shai, but just based off of what Nathaniel, Bishop Nate just said, right? That's alluding to, well, if you saying that, we're not saying don't say it, but if you saying it, all right, you not righteous. You know what I'm saying? All types of confusion, man. Okay, but let's continue.
You know, because I learned that from the elder when he, you know, because he used to use that also. But we ain't telling.
Which and brother's been re-uploading the clip where he was breaking down the name, going into it in the Hebrew, right? You know, calling upon those names at one point, right? But then backtrack, okay? Now we don't have the name and this and that and the third and so on and so forth, right?
And you all don't say, you know, but what we saying, you can't make that a doctrine. You know, that's the point. That's the point. You all get it in your head. Don't make it a doctrine and say, if you don't say it this way, you ain't going to be saved.
Come on, son.
Right. So real quick, let's just read this in Acts. I'm going to just jump over to the 5th chapter because he talks about the name being a doctrine, right? We're telling you not to do that. And the only people that were saying don't make the name a doctrine or, you know, were the wicked scribes and Pharisees, man. And let's just back that up. This is the book of Acts chapter 5. Let me just get straight to the point. Let me find the verse. All right, this is Acts chapter 5 and verse 26. It says, then went the captain with the officers and brought them without violence, for they feared the people lest they should have been stoned. And when they had brought them, they set them before the council, and the high priest asked them, saying, did we not? Well, let me jump up a little bit further, Salakia, just to get a little bit more context. All right, because when you read in the book of Acts, what was happening is that in the book of Acts, I think it was the 3rd chapter, all right, you had a man that was healed, all right, by the apostles in the name of Yahweh Shai. So when you jump into that 4th chapter, that's when, you know, Peter starts going in and said through the name of Yahweh Shai was this man healed. All right, and then the Pharisees had to acknowledge that was a notable miracle that was done, man. All right, in those names, right? And once again, that brought glory to the name of Yahweh Shai. So to downplay and say that, oh, it doesn't matter, you can call him whatever you want, that's taking away the glory from the true name of the Father and the true name of his Son being Yahweh Shai, which we have in these last days, according to prophecy and through faith in these words. All right, we're going to jump into Lord's will, Ezra, the 2nd chapter. All right, how he commended those men for confessing the name of the Father and the Son on this side. All right, and standing stiffly for those names. Who is fitting that? Okay, who's fitting that? Standing stiffly for the name. But then you'll have Bishop Nate and his cohorts that'll say that whenever you see name, you know, that's talking about the laws, statutes, and commandments, and so on and so forth, which that's madness, man. Okay, you know. It's not talking about you're praying and calling upon the law, statutes, and commandments. Okay? Calling upon a name means what it does. All right? Calling upon the name. All right? Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, man. All right? And the elect is going to praise his holy name. All right? And if you don't have those names, then that will mean that you are not of the elect. Plain and simple. All right? That is a telltale sign. If somebody doesn't, all right, believe and call upon the true name of the Father, the true name of his Son, all right, then that will mean that they are not of the elect. The Lord didn't give them that, all right, to call upon them for salvation, man. Plain and simple. All right, that, once again, that Acts 4 and 12, right? But let's jump to Acts chapter 4 and verse, it said, spread further. Let me see. All right, this is Acts chapter 4. I could have just read through Acts chapter 4 and verse, yep, I'm going to read through. So I read verse 12. I'm going to read it one more time. Acts 4 and 12. Neither is there salvation in any other, for there is none other name under heaven given among men whereby we must be saved. Okay. Now, when they saw the boldness of Peter and John, all right, and once again, they're seeing the boldness of them, all right, you know, standing stiffly for the name back then. What do you think those men and the disciples, all right, in these last days, which will be back, all right, what type of energy you think they will be in, man? The same energy and boldness, all right? They recognize the boldness of Peter, all right, and John, right? It says, and perceived that they were unlearned and ignorant men, they marveled and they took knowledge of them that they had been with Yahweh Shai. And behold, the man which was healed standing with them, they could say nothing against it. But when they had commanded them to go aside out of the council, they conferred among themselves, saying, what shall we do to these men? For that indeed a notable miracle hath been done by them is manifest to all them that dwell in Jerusalem, and we cannot deny it. All right. So there's going to be miracles again done in the name of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai that are going to be undeniable. All right. You know, then that's going to put to rest a lot of this this trash talking. All right. When it comes down to the name and making it a light thing and so on and so forth. Right. It says, but that is spread no further. So their intent was to make sure that it's not the name of Yahweh Shai be not spread further, man. All right. Miracles done in his name be not spread further. But that is spread no further among the people, lest let us straightly threaten them that they speak henceforth to no man in his name. Right. So you had the wicked Pharisees, all right, saying that, look, we have to make sure that they're not teaching in this name anymore. So they were in opposition to them teaching in the name. OK. They scorned and despised individuals that were teaching in his name, just like we just heard the bishop say, man. All right. You know, he said, scorn and despise. Let's play that back one more time.
That's what I scorn when I hear somebody say Yahweh. As soon as I hear it, I know the spirit of evil is there. I've not seen one righteous man that use that term, not one. Every one of them evil, malice, guile, gossip. Every last one of them. Okay?
Right. So he's got a disdain.
Yeah. Stop listening to these morons.
Like, this is crazy work. Okay, crazy work, man. You know, but once again, the Lord is gonna deal with all of this. You know what I'm saying? But it's showing you clearly who's fitting this, man. All right, let's be real. We're reading these prophecies. We're reading the same scriptures. Who is fitting those that are standing against the name and standing stiffly for the name? Ask yourself, all right? When you look throughout Israel, okay, who is standing stiffly for the name and who's not? All right? The elders and apostles of Great Millstone on down, all right, they have not been calling on Christ. They ain't been calling on Jesus. They ain't been saying you can call him whatever you want. They ain't been saying it ain't a big deal. Nah, they're making it plain and simple, all right, that look, this is what it is, okay? And we believe that through faith, standing stiffly on that, not move, not budge, not making light of it, none of that, man, all right? And then you have those, as we're reading here in the book of Acts, all right, that were in opposition of that name being spread and teaching in that name, right? So it says, Acts chapter 4 and verse 17, but that is spread no further among the people, let us straightly threaten them that they speak henceforth to no man in this name, right? So they had an issue with the name, man, all right? So jumping over to Acts chapter 5, all right, got a little background here. So when we jump down to Acts chapter 5 in verse, let me see. Let me just go back. Name, doctrine. All right. So this is back in Acts chapter 5 and verse 26. It says, then went the captain with the officers and brought them without violence, for they feared the people, lest they should have been stoned. And when they had brought them, they set them before the council. And the high priest asked them, saying, did we not straitly command you that ye should not teach in this name? And behold, ye have filled Jerusalem with your doctrine and intend to bring this man's blood upon us. Okay. So that was a part of the doctrine that they were teaching. Okay. Was them what? Calling upon the name of Yahushua, teaching in the name Yahushua, which we still have in these last days, man. All right. And when you read this, it says, saying, did we not straitly command you that ye should not teach in this name? Well, we look up this word teach. Let's see what it says. Pretty much saying, did we not command you to not make this a doctrine? All right. You know, so it says this word teach, straight to the point. It says, all right, well, I'm gonna read through. To teach, to hold discourse with others in order to instruct them, deliver didactic discourses, to be a teacher, to discharge the office of a teacher, conduct oneself as a teacher. All right, to teach one, to impart instruction, instill doctrine into one. All right. So just like he said, he pretty much just I forget his name. Okay. But he said it pretty much verbatim. We're not saying don't teach in the name, even though you had Nate allude to you're not righteous if you're, calling them. I haven't met any righteous person, that's calling upon those names. All right. But let me go back to it. That's the beauty about having the YouTube, and you can go back and pull up these videos, and guys want to act like, well, I didn't say that, moron, and this and that and the third. And it's like, hold on, all we got to do is type in a few words on YouTube, and we could pull it right back up, right? So let's go back to what my man said here.
You understand? To use the word Yahweh, sometimes when I pray and I use that word, you understand? We ain't tell you all not to say Yahweh or Yahweh Shai.
You ain't tell you to not say Yahweh and Yahweh Shai, but we telling you that I don't know nobody righteous that's called upon those names. Come on now.
Because I learned that from the elder when he because he used to use that also. But we ain't telling you all don't say, but what we saying, you can't make that a doctrine. That's the point. That's the point. You all get it in your head. Don't make it a doctrine and say, if you don't say it this way, you ain't going to be saved.
Right. So he said, don't make it a doctrine. And when we went back to this Acts, let's read that again. Acts chapter 4. What did the wicked scribes and Pharisees that were in opposition against Yahushua, that were in opposition against the true apostles sent by Yahweh Shem Yahushua, what did they say? Saying, Acts 5 and 28 again, saying, did we not straitly command you that ye should not teach in this name? And behold, ye have filled Jerusalem with your doctrine. Don't make it a doctrine. That's all we saying. Don't teach in those names, man. We got to make sure it don't spread no further. That's all we saying. All right. That sounds just like what he said. And intend to bring this man's blood upon us, right? So it should be very clear. All right, who the true men sent by Yahweh Shem Yahushua are in these last days, man. Okay. Very clear, right? So, let's go back to this in the book of St. John. All right, St. John chapter 17 and verse 6. It says, I manifested thy name unto the men which thou gavest me out of the world. Thine they were, and thou gavest them me, and they have kept thy word, right? So Yahushua manifested the name of the Father. And when we go into this word manifested, all right, key point I want to read in this. All right, manifested the name, and the name's been manifested in these last days again. All right. This is this word manifested, to make manifest or visible or known what has been hidden or unknown. So the name of the Father and the Son have been hidden. We were calling on Jesus. We were calling on all these other names. You didn't learn about Yahweh and Yahweh Shai, all right, until the true men of the Lord start proclaiming those names out on the highways and byways, starting with Elder Abba Bivens and so on and so forth, right? This is how the name was being manifested, okay? It says to manifest, whether by words or deeds or in any other way, make actual, invisible, realized, to make known by teaching, right? So this is how that name, okay, those names are going to be pushed throughout the world, starting off by what? Teaching, okay? You don't need to teach the full Hebrew to tell the true name of the Father and the Son in the Hebrew, man. Just like you got all these lessons you teach Jake that they're Israelites, all right? Well, if you listen to the Great Millstone videos, all right, starting off with our elders and apostles, you're going to hear the name of the Father and the name of his Son. All right, the intro, the ending, in the middle of it, you know what I'm saying? So if you come across any of those videos, you're going to be taught the name of the Father and the name of his Son. It's just a matter of faith if the Lord opens up your mind to believe in those names, okay? And I'm just bringing this point out because you got them talking about some, oh, well, they don't know Hebrew. It's like, who says they got to know the whole Hebrew? It's not that complicated. If you could teach that Jake is an Israelite, all right, you know, if you can teach everything else that you're teaching, if you can do a lesson, you can mention the name of the Father and the name of his Son. All right, it is not that hard. It is not that difficult. All right, but these guys use sleight of hand, okay, you know, they're false prophets, all right, deceiving the simple at the end of the day, right? So it says to make known by teaching, to become manifest, be made known, all right? And that's pretty much it. Well, it says here to become known, to be plainly recognized, thoroughly understood, all right? And the elect is going to see it, right? Like it says here, this is the book of Micah 6:9. The Lord's voice crieth unto the city, and the man of wisdom shall see thy name. So the men of wisdom, the true believers, they're going to see the Lord's name. They're going to know those names. They're going to believe in those names. They're going to trust in those names, right? Hear ye the rod, and who hath appointed it, right? Let's read this. This is the book of Psalms 9 and 10. It says, and they that know thy name will put their trust in thee. For the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai has not forsaken them that seek thee. Okay? As a matter of fact, let me read verse 9. The Lord also will be a refuge for the oppressed, a refuge in the times of trouble. Are we not entering into the days of trouble, the time of Jacob's trouble? It says, behold, the days of trouble are at hand, but I will deliver thee from the same. All right, and a part of us getting delivered, all right, is through calling upon the name Yahweh, Yahweh Shai. This is the book of Proverbs 18 and 10. This is why this is written. All right. It says, the name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous runneth into it and is safe. Okay. You know, so there's going to be instances just like we read throughout the history of our forefathers. They'd be in jams. All right. Heathen coming after them and so on and so forth. And then they'll call upon the true name of the Father. And what would happen, man? Divine intervention. Okay. You know, on a whole nother level. And this is what's going to happen in these last days again, through calling on the true name of the Father, the true name of his Son. Okay. Those that have departed from iniquity and calling upon those names in truth and sincerity and have faith, they're going to be delivered, man. So going back in Psalms 9 and 9, the Lord also will be a refuge for the oppressed, a refuge in times of trouble. And they that know thy name will put their trust in thee. And once again, everybody doesn't know the name of the Lord, but it will be known. It will be made famous again, man. Okay. You know, but it says, for thou, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, has not forsaken them that seek thee. This is the book of Psalms 91 and 14. It says, because he has set his love upon me, therefore will I deliver him. I will set him on high because he hath known my name. So knowing those names in the true Hebrew, in the pure Hebrew, is very important. It is essential. Acts 4 and 12 all day. We can hit the same precepts all day. These ain't new precepts. All right. This ain't a new Bible. Okay. You know, these are the same words, man. All right. And they hit harder and harder as we get closer to the coming of Yahweh Shai, man. All right. So it says, Sirach 17 and 10, and the elect shall praise his holy name. So the elect is going to see and believe in those names and call upon him in these last days, man. All right. they're going to have those names, man. So let's jump into the prophecy in here in the book of 2nd Ezra. All right. Showing you that we will have the name of the Father and the name of his Son on this side. This is prophecy, right? 2nd Ezra chapter 2 and verse 42. It says, I, Ezra, saw upon Mount Zion a great people whom I could not number, and they all praised the Lord with songs. And this is the same vision that John saw that we're going to grab as well in the book of Revelation, the 14th chapter, man. It says, and in the midst of them, there was a young man of high stature, taller than all the rest. And upon every one of their heads, he set crowns and was more exalted, which I marveled at greatly. Speaking of Yahweh Shai. So Ezra is seeing a vision, all right, of the elect, all right, getting that got the victory, all right, the innumerable multitude, all right, and those men, 144,000, man, getting those crowns. All right, it says, verse 44, so I asked the angel and said, sir, what are these? He answered and said unto me, these be they that have put off the mortal clothing and put on the immortal, right? Gotten those new bodies, okay? That's a part of the new covenant, all right? Getting those new bodies, right? It says, and have confessed the name of the Most High. So these men were being commended, all right? These men that got the victory, what were they doing? They confessed the name of the Father on this side, all right? Now are they crowned and received palms. Then said I unto the angel, what young person is it that crowneth them and giveth them the palms in their hands? So he answered and said unto me, it is the Son of the Most High, whom they have confessed in the world. So they confess the name of the Most High, being Yahweh, and they confess the name of the Son, what? Yahweh Shai, in the world, meaning on this side. So according to this prophecy, they had to have those names on this side for them to confess it. All right. You know, this isn't saying that they got the victory and then all of a sudden they started confessing this new name that came out of nowhere. Like, nah. All right. The same name, all right, that we had. As a matter of fact, let's read this. All right, real quick in the book of Philippians, man. It says, at the name of what? Yahweh Shai. All right. Shall every knee bow down and every tongue shall confess. All right. This is the book of Philippians chapter 2 in verse I'm going to start at verse 8. It says, and being found in fashion as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient unto death, even the death of the cross. Wherefore the Most High also hath highly exalted him. And this is going to tie in to that Revelation, the 19th chapter that he tried to use to say that we won't have the name on this side. We'll get a new name in the kingdom. All right. Because that's really going into what? That name that only he knew himself. That's talking about his rank and his authority that he had above everyone else. All right. The position that he has, the authority that he has over everything, man. He's only second to who? The Heavenly Father, Yahweh. Nobody else holds that position. Nobody else holds that rank. All right. Nobody else can attest to that. And that's what that's actually going into. But we're going to touch up on it, man. So it says Philippians 2 and 8. And being found in the fashion as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient unto death, even the death of the cross. Wherefore the Most High also hath highly exalted him and given him a name which is above every name. All right. Giving him the authority, the rule. All right. That position that is above everyone else's. All right. In the NLT, therefore the Most High elevated him to the place of the highest honor. All right. And this once again is going to tie into that Revelation 19. All right. It says, and gave him the name above all other names. Verse 10, that at the name of Yahweh Shai. All right. Now it says Jesus here. We know it wasn't no J's in the Hebrew, man. All right. That's a new letter that came a couple hundred years ago, man. Okay. So it says that at the name of Yahweh Shai, every knee shall bow, of things in heaven and things in earth and things under the earth. So they're going to bow at the name Yahweh Shai. All right. On this side and in the kingdom. That is the name that, you know, everyone is going to bow down to. Yahweh Shai, man. And that every tongue should confess that Yahweh Shai Mashiach is Lord, to the glory of the Most High, the Father. All right. You know, so this is what's going to happen, man. Everybody's going to bow at the name Yahweh Shai. Okay. Plain and simple, right? So let's go back. 2nd Ezra, chapter 2 and verse 47, so he answered and said unto me, it is the Son of the Most High, whom they had confessed in the world. Then began I greatly to commend them that stood so stiffly for the name of the Lord. And you really have to ask yourself, who is fitting this prophecy? All right. Is it Genesis? All right. Are they standing stiffly for the name? Okay. They're calling on Christ now. All right. You know, is it ISUPK? Right. All these, and that's the thing, all these other groups, they may sprinkle in Yahweh Shai here and there, but majority of the time you're going to hear them calling on Christ. They get on these podcasts and they say it and, you know, this and that and the third. They don't exalt the names of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. All right. So who would be fitting this prophecy? Okay. Be real. Who's fitting this prophecy as of right now? Who's doing this? It's the men of great millstone on down, man. Starting off with our elders and apostles, man. All right. So it says, so he answered and said unto me, it is the Son of the Most High, whom they confess in the world. Then began I greatly to commend them that stood so stiffly for the name of the Lord. Then the angel said unto me, go thy way and tell my people what manner of things and how great wonders of the Lord thy power thou hast seen. Right. So let's jump to, let me see if there was anything else. All right. So let me hit this Revelation 14:1. It says, the Lamb and the 144,000 on Mount Zion. And I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on the Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his father's name written in their foreheads. Okay. And then you even had Nate that scoffed this. He brought out this precept and he says, so does this mean that how are they going to have their names written in their forehead? You think that's going to be by a nigga teaching them, you know, a nigga teaching them this and so on and so forth? Like, man, you just be saying all types of just crazy stuff, man. All right. You know, I wish I had that clip up. You know, I had a few clips I was searching through, going through over the years, you know, of different things they've said, you know, against the name. All right. But when you actually read this in the Greek, it says his name and, well, let's just read in another translation. All right. This is the NLT. Then I saw the Lamb standing on the Mount Zion, and with him 144,000 who had his name and his father's name written on their foreheads. So the same vision as John, all right, or as Ezra saw in the book of 2nd Ezra, the 2nd chapter, all right, that those men, they stood stiffly and confessed the name of the Father and the name of his Son. Well, in this revelation that we're reading, John said that what? They had the name of the Father and the name of his Son written on their foreheads, man. Okay. So they have those names, all right? They would have those names, man. The elect is going to praise his holy name. We need those names to call upon for deliverance and for salvation so that the glory can be given to those names when you get delivered, when you receive salvation. The scripture says that what? The Lord is not going to give his glory unto another, all right, unto these false gods, these idols. So the Jesus isn't going to get the glory, all right? The name Jesus, Christ ain't finna get the glory, all right? No, the true name, Yahweh and Yahweh Shai, is going to receive all the honor, glory, and the praise, man. He will not give his glory unto another, okay? It says, so that was it in that NLT. So just to show forth that those men had those names on this side. So this revelation, all right, that he's trying to use can't mean that we don't have the name on this side, because we have all these precepts speaking about how we will have the name. The elect is going to praise the holy name, right? The man of wisdom shall see thy name. The name will be manifested, all right? We will be given a pure language to call upon the name. You know what I'm saying? All these different precepts talking about us calling upon the name for deliverance, but then we ain't gonna have the name. All right. All these precepts that talk about calling upon the name and getting deliverance, but then all of a sudden we ain't gonna have the name in the last days. And that don't even make sense, man. So let's read this, Revelation 19:12. It says, his eyes, I'll start at verse 11. And I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True. And in righteousness he doth judge and make war. His eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns. And he had a name written that no man knew but he himself, right? And all we need to do, all right, what is this word for name here? All right, it's speaking about, well, let's just go. He had a name written. All right, so the Greek word is onama, right? So it says name, universal proper names, right? The name is used for everything which the name covers, everything, the thought or feeling of which it is aroused in the mind by mentioning, hearing, remembering the name, i.e. for one's rank. And this is what it's speaking about in this precept. for one's rank or authority. All right, because he has a rank and authority that's above any and everyone else's, man. Let's back that up with the book of Hebrews. Okay. Nobody else can hold this position. Nobody else has that authority. All right. You know, this is the book of Hebrews chapter 1 and verse, I'll start at verse 2. It says, hath in these last days spoken unto us by his son, whom he hath appointed heir of all things, by whom also he made the worlds. Okay. It says, man, in the NLT, and then now these final days he has spoken to us through his son. The Most High promised everything to the son as an inheritance, and through the son he created the universe. All right. So in the beginning, in the book of Genesis, the first chapter, when the Elohim, all right, we're creating all things, right? Yahweh Shai was at the forefront of that. Okay. With the rest of the angels, all right. The rest of his men, the 144,000, to those who have an ear, let them hear. That's written. All right. They were with him from the beginning, creating all things. Right. This is a heavy thing, man. Okay. But Yahweh Shai has that position above everyone else. Right. It says back in verse 3, who being the brightness of his glory and the express image of his person, and upholding all things by the word of his power, when he had himself purged our sins, sat down on the right hand of the majesty on high, being made so much better than the angels, as he hath by inheritance obtained a more excellent name than they. Right? So he has a more excellent name than they. Is it talking about just the physical name? You know what? Yahweh Shai sounds better than, you know, Micah Allah. That name's way more. It's talking about his position and his authority that's more excellent and above the rest of all the angels, of everything else, of everyone else. Right? It says, for unto which of the angels said he at any time, thou art my son, this day have I begotten thee. And again, I will be to him a father, and he shall be to me a son. All right. You know, so showing you the authority and the position that he has above everyone else. In the NLT, the heading says what? The son is greater than the angels. He's greater than the angels, and he's greater than the rest of the elect. All right. He has that position that nobody else could obtain. All right. Nobody else has that authority. All right. Nobody else, you know, has that, man. You know, plain and simple, man. And this is what it's speaking about, his position, his authority. It says, again and again, when he bringeth in the first begotten into the world. All right. He saith, and let all the angels of the Most High worship him, in the NLT. And when he brought his supreme son into the world, the Most High said, let all let all of God's angels worship him. So this is highlighting the point of his position and his authority above all else. A name that no man knew but he himself. A position of authority that nobody else has but he himself, man. All right. And that's just straight what it's speaking about, man. And it ties back in that with that Philippians, man. You know, the Lord has highly exalted him and given him a name which is above every name. All right. A position and authority that's above all. All right. You know, so that's really it. You know, I really wanted to just touch up on those different things, man, through the spirit, you know, because faith in those names, man, you cannot be shaky. All right. In these last days. So while these guys is teaching doubt and sowing, you know, confusion and uncertainty about, well, does it matter? You're gonna call those names, and I don't know, and well, yeah, you know, I don't like. Nah, we standing stiffly. All right, the elect is gonna praise those holy names, and the glory is gonna be brought to those names. All right, and it's gonna be very evident in these last days, man. You know, so that's really it through the spirit, man. You know, Lord's what I was edifying on. End it right there and give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect, pushing out this word in all sincerity and the truth. With that, I'm going to say shalom.